Okay. Hi, Laura. How are you?
Hi, Douglas. How are you?
Doing fine. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. It's nice to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to see you as well.
So, looking at your bio, you are a pretty busy person. You've got a, first off, you're the founder of LBE Consulting, consulting firm, and you've also written a book. It looks like you do speaking engagements. Do you have any time to sleep at all?
Do I make time to sleep and have a little time to do some other things?
Okay. Tell us a little about LBE Consulting. What exactly do you guys do?
LBE Consulting is a firm that I founded. It was out of helping entrepreneurs who need help with their business, whether it's in accounting, taxes, or just plain business consulting, helping them to take their business to grow and thrive.
So you're not a bank, right? You're not doing capital investments or funding for people, right?
No, we're not a bank, but we're helping them to be organized and to seek funding.
What are some of the common problems that you've experienced with people who are starting up? Misconceptions or things that people make mistakes, or what is it that you've seen?
The biggest mistake that I see people making is commingling funds. So they will treat their business bank account just like their personal bank account, and they'll just have their money mixed all over. The second misconception that I see people do is on the tax side, they think everything is a write off. They don't understand that it must be ordinary and necessary to their line of business, and that there are rules and regulations to all of these things.
The one that I know from personal experience is when you try to write off your car. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, where, okay, so I do drive the car for personal reasons, but I also drive it for business. Are you better off just to get another car and have one just for business and one just for yourself?
Either way. And I tell people if you want to use your personal car, then you have to use that and keep track of the mileage of where you're going. Now, if you have a business vehicle, you still must maintain that 50%. It must be used for 50% business. So then you've got to think about it. A lot of people don't think about their vehicles if it's in a company's name. What happens if you start using that company vehicle for personal things? Well, then this becomes a fringe benefit that is taxable to you as the individual. So it's a lot of moving pieces. It can benefit you either way.
We just kind of got out of this pandemic that everybody went through for the last 3 years. And one of the things that came out of the pandemic was a lot of people switched to remote working. They started working on the internet, they started working from home. Is there a benefit to that for people? I mean, is that helping entrepreneurs?
It's helping entrepreneurs if they truly have an office space that is dedicated to where they're working at. So, one of the things that I tell people, if you have a home office, then if you're doing the work, you can write the home office off. So, one of the things, and I use myself as an example, we meet clients at the office still. And so that is an office place that we just meet you, and that is still able to be written off. Now I have a home office. This is where all the work happens. So I'm here working at home doing all of the work, unless I'm on a client site and I have to go there and do some work. But I can still write off my home office. Now, the only time it's not beneficial is if you're an employee of someone, then you cannot write that home office off. You must be an entrepreneur.
Oh, I see. You actually have to own the company to write the home office off?
Yes, because what used to happen is they used to have a form 2106, and so it was other expenses, and people would write off home offices on there, but the IRS totally removed it. So if I'm an employee of yours, I cannot claim a home office.
How do you take, if you are the owner, the entrepreneur, how do you take the home office? Is it just a percentage?
So yeah. So what we do is take the percentage of the square footage of the room that you're using for your home office. We'll calculate direct or indirect expenses that is associated to this. So like you'll get a portion of lights because of course it's taking the lights and different things for it to run the home office. And so once we calculate all of that, it is added onto the tax return.
Okay, plus heating and air conditioning as well, you can do.
Yes. So we give a portion. You don't get to write off your whole bill.
Well, that's
Because
too
I've
bad.
seen that.
Okay. I may have to start thinking about that because I do some of my work from home and some is done here in the studio. So the studio is a separate building, it's a separate place from my house. But okay. Also on your bio, it says that you do speaking engagements. Are these like TED Talks or what kind of speaking do you do?
I do a lot of speaking engagements. I talk about just what we're talking about now, tax issues. I speak to young adults on financial literacy as well as adults. So those are all of the type of speaking engagements that people will book me for.
Okay, who typically is booking you to come and speak?
So it's anywhere from women's empowerment conferences, churches, associations, just about anyone that is hosting an event and they want children, entrepreneurs, or women to be educated in tax, empowerment, business, a couple of variety of topics. Yes.
How many speaking engagements have you done? Do you have a number?
Oh, yeah, I've done hundreds.
Oh,
Um, yeah, during the pandemic was the only time that I was not doing a lot of them, but then I started doing them online. And so now, since the pandemic is over, I am back traveling. This month I have about six speaking engagements.
so now you've also written a book. Your book is called Entrepreneur New Business Guide. Is this your first book or have you written other books?
This is my first book. I have a second book. We have not released it yet, but yeah, this is the first one.
Okay, why did you decide to write a book?
I felt like there was too much misinformation out there to entrepreneurs, and that this was a book that would tell them what their financial responsibilities are as a business owner as it comes into play for state and federal taxes, to educate them of what they needed to know.
Again, this might be a little repetitive, but what are some of the things in the book that you've found to be typical things that people didn't know about starting a business?
About being responsible for payroll if you're an S corporation. Because what happens is Joe the plumber says, hey, my cousin who talks to his banker said be an S corporation. So you should be an S corp too. And so they set up an S corporation, no payroll comes out, and then they don't understand that they're an employee of the S corporation and that they're also an owner, so they must run payroll. And so everybody wants to say, oh, I'm just taking money out. I'm just taking distributions. Well, that's not how that works. You must have a reasonable salary if you're an S corporation. And so the IRS looks at that. And so I talk about that, payroll. I talk about if you're selling items, sales tax. I talk about regular tax returns, the business entities of what you need to know. A lot of people think because they're a sole proprietor or LLC that they can run payroll through and just set it up in QuickBooks or something, but that's not the case. You don't have payrolls if you're an LLC that is a disregarded entity and not taxed as a corporation.
Okay, so if you have to do payroll, that means that you have to deduct federal and state income tax plus Social Security and Medicare. Is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And if you are in one of the states that requires you to pay state income tax, you will deduct that as well. There is 9 states that don't, and Texas is one of them.
What about 1099 employees? Can't everybody just be a 1099?
Everyone is not a 1099. The IRS has a 25-point test that requires you to meet to say that you're a 1099, which is an independent contractor. And that's something else we talk about in the book. It's called misclassification. So a lot of people will say their employee is a 1099 when in fact they're not. They supply all of the tools for the work. They direct the workforce, meaning you come here at 9 o'clock, you leave at this time, and this is your break, this is your lunch, and this is what you're going to do. I'm directing the workforce in the relationship. They're not providing this service for anyone else. So those are just a few things.
If they are a directed person, then they wouldn't qualify to be a 1099?
Exactly, because you're directing the workforce. You're telling them what to do. You're supplying them with their tools. Me, when I'm an independent contractor and I take on contract work, I have my own computers. I make my own hours. I know what I'm doing. This is a service that my firm provides to others.
So how long have you been doing this? How long have you been doing the consulting and had the company?
So I have had my company for 13 years now, and I have been doing the consulting piece. I've added that on full time in 2014.
Okay.
So, yes.
What were you doing before?
Before this, I was a CFO, and I was a executive to several companies in several industries, banking, a CFO for a large nonprofit, Dr. Tony Evans. So yeah, I've always been in the accounting and tax, and I was in public accounting as well.
Do you do your own tax returns?
I do.
I'm happy to hear that. That would be bad if you went to H&R Block, right?
Right.
Okay. So is the book out now? Is it available?
The book is out and it is available.
Okay. How long has the book been out?
So the book originally came out in 2019. And so then I sold the book for about 2 years, decided, didn't make any more noise about it, and then decided to revamp it and give way more knowledge than I originally had put in there. And so, yeah, I revamped it last year.
Okay. And I guess the last question before we wind this down is, do you have a website you want to give out for the book or for your company?
So for my company, you can go to www.lbeconsulting.com. And there you can reach out and you can get the link for the book and you can purchase the book.
Okay, so everything is available through that website?
Everything is available through that website.
Okay, great. Well, Laura, thanks so much for coming on this show, and it was nice meeting you. Best of luck with your company and your book. I hope everything goes well.
Thank you so much, Douglas. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and thank you so much for having me.